Will I be saved? Will I be saved if I still eat pork? If I watch TV on the South? If I think curse words, we don't say curse words, we think them, don't we? On a recent flight, about a year and a half ago, coming into Ontario, which is my airport, Ontario, California, not Ontario, Canada. The pilot said, a half an hour for landing, it's going to get a little rough. I've heard this many times. I know rough. I can handle it. It's grab the sides, you breathe calmly, and then you land, and everything's cool. But this time, things got really, 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 really ugly. Like, ugly. Like, there was a lot of bumping around, people were screaming, there were people shouting to whoever would listen, Holy Mother, Jesus, help us! Help us, holy angels! Everything that could be addressed that was holy was being addressed at that time. People were yelling, screaming, crying. Lady in front of me made a phone call on her cell phone, which you clearly are not supposed to do. I don't know why. We don't need to know why. You're not supposed to do it. Hey! Just wanted to let you know I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I don't think I'm going to make it. And she hung up the phone, and I thought, well, maybe things are really, really, really bad, like really bad. I looked over at the guy sitting next to me who had just had his head bowed, and he just turned to me and he said, you just never know if you really have done enough good, do you? Now, I didn't deconstruct what he said to me right at that point, but I began to think about it later. But at that moment, you know what he was saying? His worldview went like this. I do a bunch of good stuff. It's somehow in some galactic, weight measuring thing, my good will outweigh the bad stuff I'm doing, and at the end, God or whoever rewards me for what I've done. You never really actually know if you really? And that's why he was just stressed out of his board. He thought he was going to die. Before we landed, looking out the window, I could see it was probably 100 feet from the ground, and suddenly there was this jerk of the plane, my face smashed against the window. And I looked out again, and there, looking out my window, was the runway. Some of you think, what's the runway? The runway was up. I would see the plane flies this way, the windows look out that way. If you think back to high school geometry, or physics, whatever, in any law, this wouldn't work. And at that point, we could feel the engine. The pilot kicks the engine back on, and he flies around, and as he's flying around, he comes on shaking, and trying to sound like he's not shaking. Folks, we were ahead and just aborted that landing, and hang on a second. And then he comes back on and says, we're going to go ahead and just go on to LAX. Not safe to land in Ontario tonight, okay? All right. So we go on to LAX, and we land, and as we're landing, plane touches down, lady in front of me makes another phone call. You're not supposed to. And she says on the phone, I made it! We're going to be okay! And she pauses, and she goes, you're a jerk. Why are you laughing? It's all God's work. And can we live for that kind of assurance? The problem is we don't trust that. We don't trust what the Bible says. We don't trust what the Apostle Paul tells people of Ephesus. We don't trust it, do we? It's impossible that we could just be handed this and given it for free. It's like something inside of us says, no, it's impossible. I can earn it. I can do something, and I hope. Couldn't I? But we can't. That's what Paul is saying. It is complete at the cross. The work of salvation is God's doing, not our doing. Recently, it's hard. This is hard for us, and I know some of you, I got it. Do we got it? Recently, did see a fun day for some of my friends is going to Home Depot and buying lumber and hammering. For me, that's a nightmare. That's like, I don't want to, I hate Home Depot, I hate Lowe's, I don't like going there, I never find stuff, but one day I decided I was going to do one job myself, ripping out some wall that I couldn't sound like a wall. Yes, there was a wall in our garage, it's not supposed to be there. Anyway, so I'm out there ripping this wall down, and I've got all these 2x4s and this whole framing lumber pile in my backyard, and I realized the only way to get this out of my yard is to start stuffing it into my trash can slowly, week by week. Except for that, I don't have salt, so I started breaking these boards with my kung fu leg. Don't be fooled by how this looks. This is a bazooka that I don't want to unleash on anyone on this. Anyway, so I'm out there breaking this stuff. Micah, my son who was here earlier today, he's watching the whole thing, and I broke one of these boards. I had a nail about this big in it, and it actually came flying to my leg and lodged into my leg. Big old nail into my leg. So I looked over at Micah. And he's staring at me like, what happened? Can a nail go into your leg? Like that? I put my hand between the board and my leg like this to move it out of my leg, remove this thing. I'm doing surgery now in my backyard. I looked at him and I said, run and get mommy. No, I didn't want to see his father crying. Pulled this thing off. By the time I had it off and was sitting on the ground just holding my leg, Shelly comes around the corner and goes, what happened? I'm like, board, nail, leg! Call an ambulance! She said, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And she turned and as she was walking away, she said, but you might get tetanus. Tetanus? What is tetanus? I act like I wasn't really concerned, so I went to the internet and I googled tetanus. And here's what tetanus is. Commonly called lockjaw. It's a bacterial disease that affects the nervous system. It is contracted through a cut or wound that becomes contaminated with tetanus bacteria. The bacteria can get through even a tiny pinprick or scratch, but deep puncture wounds or cuts like those made by nails or knives are especially susceptible to infection with tetanus. And so on and so forth. Soil, dust, manure, infection causes severe muscle spasms, leading to locking of the jaw, so the patient cannot open his or her mouth or swallow, and even I had tetanus. I spent the next day just massaging. Finally, I went to the health services department at the university, and I walked over to this lady in Arizona. I'm gonna have to have a tetanus shot, I think. She gave me the shot, and she was finishing giving me the shot. She said, trust it. It'll do its work. That night at supper, she shut the door at me and said, what are you doing? Well, you know, I just don't know if that shot is going to do it, so I'm just keeping it loose. And Shelley repeated what Uda said. You have to trust the medicine will do its work. Do we trust what God says?